You are live, Commissioner.
Good morning. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners work session, Friday, October 7th, 2022, 9:03 a.m. My name is Ty Menser, Vice Chair of the Board. Our Chair, Commissioner Carolina Mejia, by Zoom, as well as Commissioner Gary Edwards, will be handling budget matters today. For public virtual attendance, you may follow along on the Thurston County YouTube channel. We also have our County Manager, Ramiro Chavez, our Assistant County Manager, Robin Campbell, Nicole Martinez, our Budget and Fiscal Manager. Get that right? Mm-hmm. Okay, and Megan Porter from Public Information. So we are scheduled for potentially a full day. It depends on how things go, I think. We're starting here at 9 a.m. and we have particular items related to human resources, class and comp study, and risk pool, and then there'll be a break and we'll see where we're at that point. So we also have staff, budget staff. I see Human Resources Director Maria Ponte on our Zoom. So I'm going to turn this to the County Manager for letting us.
Yeah, I think this is the last day of phase one of the budget development process. A long week. Thank you, Commissioners, for your patience. Great questions throughout the week. I just give it up to Robin to frame the conversation here with Human Resources, specifically related to some of the questions the board had.
Yes, thank you, Ramiro. Robin Campbell, Assistant County Manager. And as Ramiro said, this is the final day of your budget work session week. And all week you've been reviewing very specific line item requests in the budget from all of the offices and departments as you consider what you will be funding. This morning, we're joined by Maria Aponte and Tammy Devlin. And you have invited the HR team here to talk specifically about an update to the compensation and classification study that the county is conducting, and also to have a conversation about the risk pool and the risk fund. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Maria.
Thank you, Robin. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. Good morning, I'm Maria Ponte, HR Director. And I really want to express appreciation for the question around the class and comp study, because it shows your commitment to addressing whatever recommendations come out of it. We've collected all of the JDQ information, and HR staff has been reviewing classification structure. The next step is to reach out to the offices and departments just to give them a preview and allow them input on some of those recommendations. In terms of the compensation piece of it, Siegel, our consultant, is still pulling data. So unfortunately, I don't have a number that I can provide. My understanding is, you're looking to maybe set aside some money, which, like I said, is great news. But I don't have a number that I can put out.
Maria, can you walk us through the schedule a little bit more in detail as to where we are and where we perhaps start seeing the results of this class and comp?
I think by November, we should be able to see some of the data collected in terms of positions that may be lagging in the market, that may be at market. Some of the results may show that compression. So one of the things these studies often have to address is compression, which means an employee, the difference between what an employee and their supervisor is making is, let's say, 2% versus 5% or 10%, as well as supervisor to manager. The study is slated, the recommendations and presentations on that for December. So end of the year, and then implementation into 2023, or at least the discussions about what the implementation is, what the commissioners' priorities are in terms of what these study results are. Does that answer your question, Romero?
Yes, Maria, thank you.
Any other questions?
Commissioners, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I'm good, thank you.
Commissioner Mejia, anything?
No, no questions.
Okay,
So the next is the risk pool.
right. So, one of the items in your packet is the risk fund financial plan, and it's the last page on the financial plan. It is fund, so not quite the last one. And Nicole, why don't you let the board know how they would find this?
Yes, so electronically, it's in folder 10-7 for today's date. So on the K drive, 2023 budget development
In today's date.
And the,
in today's date.
yep, and the fund number is 5050. So Tammy, could you help us understand a little better the reasoning for the increase and the amount that we have to pay?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Basically, we're insured with the risk pool. We're a member of the risk pool. And the last couple of years, the risk pool, based on combined claims for all the members, had some base increases. And they ended up having to take they went from $100,000 deductible to $1 million, then to $2 million, and then this last year, a $3 million deductible. And so all members ended up having a base rate of 40% increase, and that base rate is based on the cost of the insurance. And so our increase is 40% based on worker hours, and then the members get charged based on their experience modification factor, which means like you're basically estimating what your claims costs are going to be, and if they're over, like your auto insurance is going to increase your rates. And so in our case, they go back and they look 4 years back and they look at what did they estimate our claims to be and what did they come out to be. And so in our case, the last 2 years, 21 and 22, we've had a significant increase in our experience mod factor. So we had a slight increase in our number of hours, which is that base rate, and then we ended up having to be charged for our experience, our higher severity in claims. So that equated to, we did a base, we try to keep our costs down to the general fund. I estimated 25 and 35% increases respectively in the next 2 years. So our request was 1.3 for this year to pay insurance premiums, and then 3.3 for next year to make sure, you'll see at the very top line of the 10-year budget plan, to make sure that we have a $4 million base rate. That's basically a reserve, and it's actuarially determined. And they basically, in the actuary world, they say it's total primary, secondary assets to pay unpaid claims that they're estimating and judgments that come payable. And the risk manager requires agencies to be 80% confidence level. And so I'm not an accountant, or I'm an accountant, but I'm not an actuary. And so we go out to an actuary to determine that. And they determined 4 million was the base rate for that, is what we needed. And so that's how we came up with the numbers that you're seeing in this 10-year plan. That kind of help?
Commissioner Edwards, any questions there?
No, I don't have any questions.
Whoa. Yeah, Commissioner Mejia.
Gary's on Zoom and he's in person.
Yes, it's magic.
That's magic.
Nicole too, here, she's in the room and on the screen. Commissioner Mejia, questions about the risk pool?
No, I mean, seems like we're kind of stuck with that price tag and there's no real way around it, so.
It feels a little deflated on this conversation.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I've already asked the questions when we had the briefing. I can't say that I completely understand how we get to a 50% increase. And to me, that would necessitate some sort of catastrophic amount of like claims. And I just, sitting here as a commissioner, it seems like it's been a steady flow. We've had 2 or 3 a year, you know. None of them are like massive millions of multi-million. None of them have been $14 million hits or anything. I mean, we've had claims that we've settled for what, a few $100,000. I don't know. It hasn't felt to me like things have been out of whack to where we would see a 50% increase in our insurance premium. I just don't understand it. But there's a lot of math that goes into it that I don't understand.
Well, the underwriters look at our entire history. And so they don't just look at the last couple of years. So they look at our history, and then they also look at the open claims and what reserves is set. And so we get charged for those reserves anticipated until the claim gets closed. And so they're going back and looking at, back in time, back to, I don't know, when would we start the pool? 1988, they're going back that far to look at our claims.
But in other contexts, and again, I don't know that much about insurance, but in other contexts where I've seen this kind of structure, the reason you have that longer view of history and the rolling and the lag and all that is so that you smooth out. You don't see this incredible, 50% is an incredible spike. If my car insurance company called me and said, your car insurance is going 50%, I'd be looking for a new company immediately. So to me, this is extremely unusual to me. I mean, just, again, just from where I sit as a person that's been in office for 3 years and a 50-year-old person that's lived life and worked in other contexts, so it just doesn't, like, the population hasn't increased that much, and the claims, and you're talking about, well, what open claims we have. I'm not aware of any open claims where we're getting sued for $15 million.
We do, go ahead. Commissioner.
I have to say this, we lost a case that was the biggest in the state of Washington. I think the total devaluation of tax dollars, yeah, we didn't have to pay it all because we had this insurance risk pool, but we lost a lot of money. And like was mentioned, they go all the way back. And that's wherein lies the problem. That is, I sit on this risk board, and I'm telling you, it's a concern of these insurance companies. And then this whole other piece, we're one of the few states that allow this
Joint and several liability.
joint and several liability. And until we get that fixed, we are looked at as a big risk. Now, I'm not in favor of it, I don't like it, but it is what it is. The whole thing is what it is. And Washington has brought that on through its legislation. We've got a past history that isn't good, and
But I don't see how a 10-year-old case can create all of a sudden a 50% jump 10 years later.
So I understand the actuary model, and that I think the actuarial calculations are a little different for insurance than you see. It's not for the purpose to smooth things out. It is for the purpose of providing an estimate on if all cases came forward and closed today, what is the amount that the county would have to pay out? That's the whole actuarial estimate when it comes to risk and insurance. And I can see where the big cases that Commissioner Edwards is alluding to, and that was not the only big case, but it was a very large loss in Thurston County, one of them. And that would factor in. But the rest of the things that we've talked about are statewide. And what I don't understand is how Thurston County specifically was hit so hard in the calculations that were done by the pool. Why did our contribution go up so extremely compared to all the rest? I still don't understand that.
It was, what you were looking at is the difference between just a pure calculation of what our rate was last year or the prior year to this year. Our contribution to the total did not go up. It was like 7.6 in 2021 compared to 2020, and it's 9%. Spokane's went from 11% membership to that premium up to 12.2. So the total contribution didn't go up. It's just they're comparing what we paid last year to the increase this year, which is primarily based on a 7% increase in hours, the 40% base rate based on those hours. And then they look at and they do a formula based on what did they expect our claims to be the last 4 years and what they came in at. And they came in at higher than what they expected. So it's an experience rate. So they charge that on top of that. Also, our claims seem to be coming in higher than our deductible level. And so we used to get a significant decrease on getting a $250,000 deductible. We're not getting a significant decrease anymore because base rate, all claims, because of the social inflation factor, all the claims seem to be going up higher. So what we thought a $300,000 claim was a year ago is now a $600,000 claim, as an example.
That helps. That I had not heard that part before.
Okay.
But usually, again, my best experience with insurance is car insurance, but usually you increase your deductible because you don't want to pay, like that's the trade-off for not paying a higher contribution, monthly rate, whatever, how, the premium. So you just said we're not getting discounts on our deductible, but
As much as we did.
But we're also getting slammed with the higher contribution amount, so.
Right, and if we raise our deductible, if we raise it from 250 to 500,000, that $4 million reserve would have to significantly go up to pay for judgments and claims payable. And so we're not in a financial position to raise our deductible either. So our best bet is to reduce claims costs, make sure we don't have the claim to begin with, mitigate as much as we can in that layer. That's kind of where we're sitting, unfortunately.
How do we do that? I thought we were proactive on trying to reduce claims and whatnot. So what more is there left to do that you would suggest? I don't know what that means. You can
additional training.
Okay, what do I do?
We've been trying to roll out training as much as possible, trying to look at operations from the risk management perspective, looking at what people are entertaining doing, reviewing contracts. Robin's got a no contracts office now. That is significant when we're entering into contracts and making sure we're transferring that risk. We didn't have that function before, and so it was split between the risk team and the civil deputies. But we didn't see every contract. And so when grant money comes out, offices are, trying to grab that money. And so they're agreeing to do things. We need to make sure we're doing it in the sound best judgment to protect the resources of the county as much as we can. So that's a big one. And Robin's addressing that already.
Okay, but that hasn't really been the kind of claims we've been getting, right?
Well, right now we're getting a lot of law enforcement claims. This, they're trying to defund police. That's statewide. So we're seeing a lot more law enforcement related excessive force claims that we didn't have before. We're seeing a lot more jail related claims.
Right, that's what I mean. That's not a contract review issue. That's a totally different issue.
Right, and the risk pool is actually hired a senior claims analyst that was ex-law enforcement. And so they're working with the sheriff's office to provide training. They're doing that virtual reality system where they can go through and do scenarios for all the deputies. they're doing a lot of training related to law enforcement and corrections to try to attack some of these issues.
Hey, Tammy, what was that big case in Spokane jail?
They've had two. One was a jail medical case that's on appeal. And then they just recently had another one where there was a police shooting, and I think that was a $4 million case. I don't know the names off the top of my head.
Okay. The medical one that's from the jail, wasn't that substantial?
That was very substantial, yes. Spokane ended up settling, I believe because of the joint and several, they ended up getting 10% of that judgment, and then the medical provider had 90% of that judgment, which I believe is on appeal. But it's still a very significant statewide case that most jail medical claims, plaintiff's attorney is going to, look at that case and, hey, this is how we're going to compare our case to yours.
Commissioner Mejia, do you
No question. Sorry, my connection was unstable.
It's okay. Can hear you now. County Manager.
I don't want to just keep talking about the same. It is what it is in a way, but it's still it is frustrating because for somebody who doesn't understand the global context of this, is difficult to pinpoint as to why that such a big increase only to Thurston County. Because when we were looking at all the members of the risk pool, Thurston County seems to be hit by the highest percentage. And I understand the Tammy and all the law enforcement related matters across the state, but no other jurisdiction was facing the same issues when they see the rate increases on the risk pool. Related to the big lawsuit that we lost a few years ago, I believe that was already taken into account in previous rates. So going back in history to double count that, again, I don't know. So I really don't ask, I don't have any questions, but I certainly share a level of frustration, and it's not because of this is not right. It's just because the lack of understanding from my perspective as to how we come up to this significant increase.
And what can we do to mitigate these costs? I don't see a clear path for the county to be able to bring these costs down.
So that's the thing, it is what it is.
Totally out of our control.
It is what it is, and there is not an option.
Right,
But
it's
that's
completely out of our.
I guess that's the frustrating part.
It
And as
is.
I stated to the board, I will working with Maria next year to see what options the county has to be self-insured. Just explore that idea formally, and that is something that we ought to do for us to provide options to the board.
I have a question, and just to follow up to what the county manager, not a question, I guess, but more of a comment / question. But in terms of what the county manager just said, with, law enforcement, I mean, the fact of the matter is, I'm kind of on the same boat. I'm just really frustrated. I think a big part of it is because I just don't understand. And the fact that we got with that 40%, it's just so high. But we've done all the precautionary means. I mean, we invested in body cameras for the sheriff's office. I mean, why doesn't that factor into like this formula, I guess?
It will eventually. We're charged based on our claims costs and what is anticipated. So having the virtual reality training and having the cameras, that's going to go a long ways to defend some of these cases when they say, hey, you did this, and when we really didn't. That's going to be a huge factor in future defenses of cases when somebody's claiming we did something that we didn't do. But you're not going to see that immediately. That's going to take time to utilize that advantage and reduce our claims costs.
Tammy, could you talk again about the 80%? Where would we find that requirement if we wanted to look it up?
It's under RCW, or excuse me, WAC code 200-100-03001. And it requires all self-insured entities. This is the state risk manager, we're not under the
Yep.
insurance commissioner. And all state agency or self-insured agencies have to be 80% confidence level. And so the risk pool does an actuarial analysis for all the reserves that they need to pay our claims above our deductible. We in turn need to have 80% confidence level for the judgments and payables that we have to pay within that deductible.
Right.
And historically, our risk reserve has had that. Plus, if you recall, Robin, we added funds for uninsured cases like public records and catastrophic losses for deductibles.
Yep.
With this risk fund being done at 4 million, this is going to cover judgments and claims payable. It's not going to cover those other unfunded situations that we have. If we have a pollution claim or if we have another Public Records Act violation, we typically try to set money aside in the risk reserve fund to cover those things for the different offices.
So
But that's where that WAC is where we get that requirement from.
So, Tammy, is the 80% confidence, is that the 4 million?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
that's for judgments and claims payable.
okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
So if we close business tomorrow, that's what we probably need to pay our deductibles up to the 250 for these claims.
For any claim that might come forward through today.
Yes.
Yep. That's how insurance risk works. So, we have no wiggle room here.
You can only drive on bald tires so long. Pretty soon you get a flat tire. And you hope it isn't a blowout.
Well, we had brand new tires. Close to.
No, we didn't have brand new
We were close
tires
to
some
do
years
in the
back.
last few years. It was this hit that, suddenly we got a puncture. It
We have
punctured our
80%
tires.
tread left.
Yeah, exactly.
80% tread.
We had been much higher.
Yes.
Okay, well, if there's nothing, we've asked our questions, we've had a briefing, doesn't sound like anybody's got any bright ideas, let's move along.
Okay, thank you very much for
Thank you both.
And hey, I don't want you guys feeling that we're mad at you. It's just the reality that we're dealing with.
Is the
You know?
system, in the system, yeah.
Just,
So, I appreciate you both.
we could go on and on.
Thank you.
you.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was fun.
You have a warped sense of humor, ma'am.
Yes, I know. What brought me into the budget field, apparently. All right, so having finished that, we can now go back to the review that had been planned to look at the remaining funds that you should take a look at as we wrap up this review week. So I'm gonna just page through the packet of funds that I have. We've already looked at the Parks and Trails Fund. We looked at the Roads and Transportation Fund. The next one up that we should take a look at is REIT 1. This is not the one that I wanted them to have. So we need to take just a moment and find the financial plan that you should have.
Where's that on?
Yeah.
I don't know, I need to
Where's
find
that
it.
on?
I need to find it, and we
So
need to make it available,
the
so
packet
give us
is-
a moment.
10.5. However, the fund on page 7, was page 6, where we'll be starting, is not the one that Robin would like to share right now.
Right. So I did a plan that took us out to 2030,
130.
yeah. Which I think is important so that you can see where this fund is heading. If everything plays out, and my computer is just crazy slow. My apologies that we don't have this one in place.
It's in our financial plan section, right?
No,
It's not gonna be an S.
no,
Okay.
Do you want us to take to?
yeah,
9:40?
give us a few minutes,
Let's reconvene at 9:45.
thank you.
Okay, we are back from break. It is 10 a.m. and I'm passing it back to Robin.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have found the correct file to take a look at the REIT 1 fund and the financial planning. And for those of you who are looking at it in paper, you have a copy. And the only difference between the plan that had been in your packet and the one you have before you now is it has additional years. We forecasted this fund out to 2030 to see how we're doing, given the fact that we have now sold the bond and are about to start making the bond payments. So if you look at REIT 1, on the revenue side, you'll see that we are on track to collect approximately $5 million this year, just a couple dollars below $5 million. And $5 million was the budgeted revenue for this year. So we are right on track of where we anticipated we would be. In 2023 and 2024, I actually reduced revenue in anticipation of bringing in less. Now, it's a modest decrease. It could drop more than this, but we factored in, I'm watching the State Economic Forecast Council. I don't think that Thurston County will see as big a drop as the statewide drop, because they are, of course, mainly looking at King County, and the Thurston County experience is different. But I do project that it's going to go down in the next 2 years, which aligns with the things that we heard at the real estate forum and everything that we're hearing from economists. Then, starting in 2025, slow growth, we average more than 5% per year, but I have growth built in into 2030 at 5% per year. So it is a modest increase in rate. On the expenditure side, I'm going to drop down to the very bottom of the page, and you'll see that I added the payments in accordance with the payment schedule for the new bond that we just issued, that will support the remodel and construction here at the Capitol campus, the courthouse campus. And what you see here is the way this bond is structured, and this all depends on the bids. If you watch the bond sale, the different agencies bid on buying our county bonds. And the bids were structured in very much the same way. The winning bidder, for the first 3 years, we pay interest only. So you see that the payments, the first payment is in 2023, we'll pay $2.6 million. You also see 24 and 25, it's $2.3 million in each year. And then the amount pops up because we start to pay on the principal as well as the interest. So 3.5, well, yeah, close to 3.5 million a year in the remaining years. And it's not exactly the same every year. Duncan Brown could explain it better than I could why there's variable amount, but we have a payment schedule. We know exactly how much we'll pay every year, and that is built in. On the line above that, you see the interfund loan repayment. We need to budget the interest, but we'd already assumed the $5 million for the principal to pay back the fund, and I think we got that out of ER&R reserves. We'll pay that fund back next year. Then in the lines above that, I am working my way up. You'll see the repayment of, yes?
Is there, should this be on the screen?
Could you share?
Yeah, I'm logging into the meeting right now.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
Thank you.
I just wonder, I mean.
Sure, we can put it up. again, working
I
my
get to
way,
follow your cursive when you're doing that too. You're not doing it with the cursive now, are you? You're with the little pointer on the screen. You're doing it with paper?
In the process of getting.
I have a piece of paper,
Okay,
yes.
okay, I just-
I'm with you, Commissioner,
Okay.
old school.
Okay, old school, okay.
Yeah, so following up, again, going up the page,
Just give it, just a second until Nicole can catch
oh,
up.
sure.
No pressure.
No pressure, Nicole. I think I might have, I gotta stop sharing my screen that way.
Oh, geez.
Does that help you, Commissioner?
Exactly, it's a huge spreadsheet.
Well-
Maybe zooming in.
Okay, so you're down. Yeah. I don't know how to. Is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
No, I'm on the wrong button. There we go. You can try to do a little bit bigger. Is that helpful?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so I am, if you'll point to the line that I'm on the line right above the repayment of the loan.
What does it say? 2016 bond?
Yeah,
Okay, right here?
yeah, and point at the column in 2023.
they're pointing.
The 5 point.
Yeah,
Which I can
yeah,
show
yeah.
you 2023 is, so
Yeah.
5.7.
shapes.
Yep,
Okay.
see that amount right there, it's about 27,000 in '23, it's about 51,000 a year in future years. This is the payment of the 2016 bonds, which was a refund of 2007 and 2009 bonds. And those will be paid off probably 2039. So we've got a while to go, but the payments are very, very small. You see the bigger bond payment is in the line above. That was for our 2015 bonds, which was a refund of bonds issued in 2005. Those were 20-year bonds. Those are completely paid off in 2025. So and then we have the bond above that was the 2010 bond that is paid off this year. So because we have large payments going out that end in the next few years, that will start to once again increase capacity in this fund. And that's what enables us to have capacity to pay the $50 million bond. And as we work our way up, you'll see that the things.
Before you go up, Robin, can you touch on the 5.7 million interfund transfer?
5.712.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mentioned that. That's repaying the interfund loan that we used to build Mottman or buy Mottman.
yeah, that's.
Yeah, we bought Mottman. Yep. So moving up to the other types of expenditures, there was $1 million expenditure this year to buy Building 7. That's already reflected here. There is the remodel of the atrium, that's 10 million. We've accounted for that this year. Moving up farther, this year, you have a few small projects that Central Services is doing, the countywide security improvements. And this worksheet includes in 2023 additional funding to finish that project. We also have moved forward the money for the project at the fairgrounds.
Before you move up, you have amendment purchase in 2021, 5.6.
Right, we already did that.
No, but
That was last year.
It also is also in 2023, you have the repayment of the loan or the money.
Right. Right, we bought it in '21, and we took a loan to do that, and you see that in the revenue.
Okay.
and then we repay it down on this line below.
I get it, just wanna make sure they,
Right, it's all connected.
it's all connected.
We saw the purchase, we took a loan to do it, you see the revenue, and now we're gonna pay it back.
So I don't wanna say that perhaps
Right.
we're double counting that number.
Oh, right, no, it's,
So.
that's why it's all on different rows, it's,
I got it, so
it's all on.
make sure we touch it.
All right, so the fairground monies here that the board is committed to in 2023, really the only thing we're doing or proposing for 2023 is the commitment you've made to the fairgrounds, the wrap-up of the courthouse security project, and payment on the bonds. That's what we'll be able to afford out of REIT 1 next year. Then starting in 2024, if the revenue plays out the way we think it will, you start to have capacity, and you see that on the line for central service projects. Starting in 2024, you start to have capacity for other maintenance projects on these buildings. So you see I built in $500,000 in '24, $1 million in each of the future years. I can't tell you right now what those projects might be. You may choose to fund these, you might choose to not and let the fund balance grow. But if you look at the fund balance, we're gonna close this year with a little over $5 million in the bank. We'll use that capacity next year to mainly to repay the loan to buy Mottman. That brings the fund balance down pretty low, and then it starts to build up again over time. So we think that REIT 1 is in a good place. What is not in this plan is the remodel of Mottman.
On the 500 starting in 2024, and that's what you stated is capacity for the board to consider what project.
Other things,
You may want to change the description. Because that states is building for resource room, which is not,
no,
okay, I'm
it's
off.
on
I'm
central
off on the
Yeah, I
line.
was
services,
saying
I'm
the
off.
same thing, it's
I'm
like,
off. I got my
central
sheet.
service projects,
yeah.
yeah.
I got my, yeah, I'm off.
You start
Okay.
putting like painted lines so that you can follow.
I was trying to get my.
That would be
Yeah.
easier.
I have my ruler.
Trying to-
I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm off. One night.
So the thing that we don't have funding for is the remodel of Mottman. That's where we have a hole. I'm sorry?
Or the flex unit.
Or the flex, that's absolutely true, if not built additional jail capacity into here. But that is something that my understanding was the board is not interested in
But that's a
this
separate,
time.
that's a different fund anyway.
No, that would be this fund,
3-1, that was the
REIT
intent
1,
at the beginning.
that was the plan. We've pivoted and put that money into these buildings.
That's where the real regional jail conversation would help.
Yep.
There's probably gonna be future discussion on jail construction having to do with dormitory living, I would guess. You know, that's gonna have to be somehow adjusted, I don't know the answer yet.
Probably.
My question is,
It needs, that conversation, I believe, needs to happen.
Yeah, but it's gonna be a broader conversation than just at Thurston County.
I agree.
with the projected revenue and kind of the ending fund balance that we're seeing across this, if the projected revenue is less than what we anticipated, and I know your estimates are conservative but just in case it comes in
But if
less,
it does go down,
what's our plan B? Because I'm not seeing a
we
lot of.
delay
wiggle room.
the security
That's what?
project.
It's
Plan B is to delay the security project. You've authorized a small amount of that project, only the highest 3 priorities. It won't take the entire amount.
Another half
I
million.
wouldn't do any more of it. That would be my
So
plan.
you would just go proceed with TCOM?
We would do the TCOM, the coroner, and building 5 are the 3 parts of the security project that the board has authorized at this point.
With the 497, but if,
No, that's less than that. And then,
okay,
This year it's 132,
right,
there we go, yeah.
but there's this 497 that could be delayed for next year, you're saying?
that's right,
If we were gonna bind.
that's right. That's the majority of the rest of the projects.
That
that we're
overall
on the list.
reduction and then
Right, and the board hasn't made any decisions yet about cameras or no cameras, what we really need to be doing.
Let me just, I don't know. Yesterday, we didn't really finalize that extra $2 million on the district court that we were working on. Did you guys figure that out? Because I'm curious what that 4 million was versus it should have been 2.7, or I can't remember the numbers.
the fact
It was
that
on the
we didn't have the district court historical numbers because the
Oh,
coroner
right.
numbers
Did
were
you
on
figure
there
that out?
Right.
Yeah.
until the last
It
year.
was a formulation
don't-
of the report.
I did not have time to redo that report. I'm not sure if staff
I've
had
been working with the team
updated
and
that.
saying it shouldn't
We
be.
can make sure that that
Well, I
gets
just
fixed.
wondered if
That's
there's,
general fund.
yeah, I just wondered if there's something there or not.
No, it was an error.
Yeah,
So in
but it
previous
might be
years.
just an error with numbers.
Yeah, it wasn't, you're right, because that budget jumped from 1.9 to 4, as
Yeah.
I recall, but that was an error on the 1.9.
But at some point,
In
you
previous
just need
years.
to know the real deal at some point.
Well, yeah, we need to
Doesn't have
see
to be
that
today.
same historical trend, like we scrutinized juvenile court.
Right.
And we didn't have that at
Right.
handy for district.
We're updating that. I don't know that we'll have that for you today.
No,
So this is the state of REIT 1.
Got it.
Okay.
Question.
Yes.
On the repayment to the interfund loan for the monument, is, I think it said we need to repay within 2 years of borrowing, right? So is that, in 2000?
This is the 2
This is
year.
the 2 year.
Yep, I gotta pay it next year, no choice.
and so what's the 712,000, is that the interest?
The
I thought the
loan,
building was
if
5.
you will, was 5.6.
Oh, it was 5.6,
And we're
okay.
gonna pay back 5 cents.
Yeah, there
So this is, the purposes, that was the payment, and this is the.
okay.
All right, okay. REIT 2.
No, I have to pull that one up.
So where would I find that one in the computer?
Yep, so 1005 is the date folder and it's page 7. And Commissioner Edwards, that would still be in your financial plan packet.
Okay,
Page 7. Page 7. Got it.
All right,
you said page 7, 1005, page 7.
Yours would be,
I don't see page numbers on this.
right, because they were all individual sheets.
Yeah,
But at the top, it'll say Fund 3210.
3310.
3210 on the left-hand side.
3310.
Would you like to check that?
We're gonna have fun.
There's that touche.
Couldn't find any of my stuff yesterday and kept.
No, I'm sure I'm almost there, it's just, yeah,
you might have gone too far. You went too far.
too far. Then it's dead center in the middle.
I'm sorry, what?
This one's to print,
This
this
is
is
just.
Okay, thank you.
We're using this stuff up.
Ooh, but it doesn't go up as much.
No, we'll explain why.
Sorry, I'm looking
No,
at.
that's okay. I'm glad that you look at these. Ready?
Right?
All right, REIT 2. The thing with REIT 1 and REIT 2 is the amount of revenue is exactly the same because it's calculated in exactly the same way. So you see the same revenue trend. On track for $5 million this year. And then a drop in the next 2 years and recovery of 5% per year. I'm not gonna go line by line. If there's anything in particular you would like to look at in this fund, we can, but I do wanna draw your attention to a few things. Commissioner Mejia already noted that when you look at the fund balance of this fund, that's where it's very different than REIT 1 because it's used for different projects. And it's being spent at a different rate. The projects in REIT 2 are all public-facing infrastructure.
What project called?
I'm calling it public-facing infrastructure.
Okay.
We use REIT 1 for county-owned buildings. We use REIT 2 for things like streets, sewer systems, water systems, lighting of streets and areas, parks. And it has to be used for construction. It cannot be used for maintenance and operations. There are some limited ways you can, but at this time, Thurston County does not meet the criteria to use this fund for M&O.
Okay, but can it, so I want to explore those limits. So I got the M&O versus construction, but does it have to be, it can be on something we don't own?
This
Can it be in
can
some-
be used on something we don't own, but we have to be able to show that it is
Public benefit.
public benefit in Thurston County.
And unincorporated?
It does not necessarily, no, it does not necessarily need to be in the unincorporated.
Because I thought that when we looked at this as a possible source for the brewery foundation building, we were told that that's in Tumwater, so we can't use it, doesn't qualify. I thought Elizabeth gave us that legal opinion.
Elizabeth gave us a legal opinion, and I'd have to go back and look to see exactly what the opinion was, but it had more to do with the use and ownership than it did
Because
the,
it was a private.
It's a nonprofit.
Yeah,
nonprofit,
private nonprofit.
Private nonprofit. Not necessarily the city, for instance. You funded out of this fund a couple of years ago to replace the bathrooms in the city of Rainier. We're just finalizing the local agreement
Within the city agreement.
within the city of Rainier.
Right.
And the city of Rainier is the one who is beneficiary of the REIT funds, and they will carry on the contract.
and the bathrooms are right off the trail
The
that
trail.
we own.
So it has to be owned by the county or some other public?
It's a
No,
public
I
entity.
would not go that far, because we are paying for the atrium and that is a private-owned structure, but it is for the use of the county.
But that's a nexus to county.
That's right, that's a
REIT
nexus
one.
to
I'm talking
county
REIT two.
government. So let me look up and see exactly what Elizabeth told us,
Because we get
so
asked,
that we don't get.
and I'm sure my seatmates get asked all the time, can you contribute to this, can you contribute to that? And I need to know the bounds of these very precisely.
And you have the Washington for Performance Center request for infrastructure.
Yeah, that's a nonprofit.
So that's a
Private.
good conversation.
I would not be recommending that we pay that out of REIT, that would come out of ARPA.
You're
But
right.
going back to the same
Out of your
time,
what? Out of what?
ARPA.
Or,
but that will be
Yeah.
for the same type of request that I think
that's
is a
more of a
good,
stretch than anything.
is a good conversation to go under the boundaries.
Right.
Even Commissioner Edwards is looking at me with a squint eye on that one.
That's what we usually go to first. It's like ARPA.
So maybe to begin the conversation, what Robin looks at this.
All right.
Commissioner Mejia really keyed on the fund balance of this fund. And there is a lot of requests from Public Works that perhaps may not be something you would consider. The board made a strategic decisions to, for instance, on the first page, on the third line above the bottom.
Okay, you gotta tell me that, which one you're looking at? This
Read
one?
two.
Read two,
Page
on there.
Yeah.
Okay, is there another?
Yeah. So right here,
Okay, 1 million.
1 million, you made a strategic investment for overlays. And that was to supplement, some of the overlays program that Public Works have. And this particular request, you see Public Works is increasing that request to 1.5, all the way to 2 million.
Yeah.
That is something that you may want to consider. I personally believe that you saw the 10-year financial plan for the road fund. I think the road fund has capacity to continue to have a very robust overlay program, and maybe you consider to have this line item continue to be at $1 million. The reason that I'm stating this is for the board for you to have capacity in this fund, for you to consider doing other programs that you see as a priority.
So what about this $2 million for Country Club? Is that just like hoping we'll get grants for the other 7 million? I mean, 2 million is not gonna do anything.
No, because there's, as you remember, the $2 million was part of the financial strategy for that particular project. They're gonna be exploring the Public Works Trust Fund loan. They're gonna be using some of the Fishberry Passage program. You put $2 million a year, but there was a request of an additional $2 million.
Road fund.
Yeah, so there, but there's
Okay, so I didn't remember the exact.
yeah, there is that line
Seven.
item, it was part of the financial.
Right. This was part of the plan.
But if you go down the two other requests of 520,000, those are related to overlay specific projects. They should be part of the overall overlay line item that you already funded.
These are on top of that.
Yeah, so, and that's what I wanted to highlight, that is, where you have options as to how you may consider this. Because again, I think my objective is to create capacity for you to make some strategic decisions as to what projects you would like to fund.
How about that trail connectivity program, right? I'm only seeing $1 million here. And I know from conversations that we had, we were expecting that this was going to be
And ongoing.
and 2 million and ongoing. And I'm just seeing half of
Well, I
that.
thought it was 1 million a year.
It was one,
2 million for a biennium.
no, it was one time. The board made a decision last year, one time.
Well, you told us that, but I think
The intent perhaps was.
Yeah,
So that goes back to my suggestions to you, what options do
no,
you
right, that's
have
what we're thinking.
for you to create capacity?
Exactly.
Because I know that is important to you.
Where are you seeing that line item?
That is on
It's two
Page
things
7.
missing, yeah, okay, that's
Page
right.
7.
page 7, and then it's closer to the bottom.
They call
I see
it
it,
the
trail
Trail
connect.
Connectivity Program.
It's 1 million.
I'm calling it Thurston County Connect.
Yeah, I like it. TC Connect, I love it. Let's be confusing. So what you see here is a reflection of the fact that when Public Works prepared their CIP, there had been, I'm gonna step back even farther. The board authorized the trail connection program and $1 million a year. What got tagged in the system was that it was one-time funding. Fast forward to the preparation of the CIP. Instead of taking this year's $1 million and rolling it forward, because it hasn't been used, Public Works just dropped the first $1 million, left $1 million in '23, and treated it as one time. So we align our financial plans to the CIP. And after the conversation that we had a few days ago with Public Works, Karen and I put our heads together, saw that this is what had occurred. She says it was an oversight on the part of Public Works, and this really should have been $2 million in '23. And we would adjust both the financial plan and the CIP. However, when you look at the fund balance, yeah, you could afford to pull another $1 million out of '23, and you should still be able to be okay. And we've got an updated plan from Karen, but I didn't wanna swap it out at this point. But more to Romero's point is what you see in this financial plan are all of the things that Public Works had, is recommending to you for the use of this fund. And the board needs to decide how you would choose to use it.
So talking about the trail for a minute, so 2 million, even if it's one time, if it's 2 million, that could potentially allow us to do phase 1 of the Bucota and the Gate Gilmore.
Yeah.
If you more, but even take that approach a bit further. If you reduce, for instance, the overlay line item, that's the third line item on page 1. In 2024 to 1.2 and leave it up to 1.2 for the remainder. As opposed to going to that increase, it creates additional capacity to continue to support the expansion of the trail in years to come.
I have a question on this same page, is when we go across, okay, so say from trail connectivity, you've got $1 million there.
Yeah.
Then you go up to trail surface rehabilitation program, then you're
Minus 25.
at 25,000?
Yeah, a year.
And then the next one is 21,000 for the restroom?
Yeah.
I just never see us ever do anything for 21,000 for like a restroom.
But it's
That's
just,
why I'm just wondering.
no, but it's just.
What's to paint it?
The REIT is a contribution. It will be, the project has also a parking by fees associated with the
Right.
project.
It's only a
For instance, on the
portion.
Kennydale, that
Okay,
you just approved is a combination of parking by fees and REIT.
okay.
So this is only reflects the contribution from REIT, but not necessarily reflects the overall cost.
So
of
it's
the
not the
project.
total program?
Yeah.
Okay, that's thank you.
What's that 17,000, the improvement and development program, what is that? 17,500.
I don't know what that is. I'm gonna turn to Patty or Jennifer.
Because it says 21
And
through
it's all the way
22,
across.
but it's all the way across.
Which one? This 17.5. This is something new.
Which is not-
Chainsaw gas or something like that every year.
Yeah, I'm not sure what this is in such a small amount of money.
Yeah, it's small, but it's all across, so I'm just,
Right. It appears to be a
it's
continuous.
still on the first page. And
Right.
it says the 2021, 2022 Improvement and Development Program. And it's 17,500 all across.
I looked for it in
We don't know
the
what that
CIP
program
and I
is.
couldn't
No.
find it.
Is this for,
So-
is it for a programmatic? That shouldn't be.
I have no idea what this is.
That shouldn't, REIT 2 shouldn't fund only programs. It should be
No,
like
it can't,
infrastructure.
and it can't be any kind of a broad study, and it can't be, REIT comes with a ton of restrictions.
We're gonna get more info on that one?
Yeah, we'll find out what that
Plus
17.5
if
is.
it's a 21-22 improvement program, why are we paying for it in 23, 24, 25?
Right, well, yeah, all kinds, well, yeah, we'll find out what that is. So lots of items on here, for you to think about the trade-offs in REIT too, and we'll give
Here
you
you
a-
really have flexibility.
lots of
Lots of
flexibility here. Nothing but flexibility.
Well, I guess a request that was made by the study one and by the South Thurston Economic Development was changing, so we have the, what is it, the Yelm to Nino Rainier Trail, is that the correct order? And they want it to be Tenino, Rainier, and the Tri-Trail. So just
Try Rainier, try Young. They want to dovetail with
Market it.
marketing for the.
Nice.
That sounds okay to
The
me.
more accommodated the change of the name, now there's a different name. What is the new name? I'm sorry. I
Try.
missed it.
try.
Is that they like?
Tenino, Rainier, try.
So
Try,
the Young
try the
Rainier-
trail.
Right now, it's the Yurt Trail. The
Oh.
Young Rainier Tenino.
Okay.
No
So I
camping along the trail.
So I guess the,
In the yurt.
I guess the order is
The
important.
order is important because they want to market it as like, try this, try that, by using the trail.
TRY.
Try the trail.
It's a
So
That's a
pretty
nice
good
little
marketing
slogan.
scheme.
Yeah.
It is, when I heard it, I was like, oh, that's not bad, but I'm guessing signage, that's why I'm bringing it up, so, because I don't know if it's.
I would just like, run this by the mayor of Yelm, please. I don't want to hear that once we
Yes,
switch
because
it.
I
switch
don't
it
think
from front to
they
back.
will appreciate the why being the last.
Yeah, exactly. I was worried about that one, but everybody seemed in the room to seem to be agreed that was better.
But that's an easy investment.
It's easy.
That's
Doesn't cost any REIT money to do that.
No? Okay,
low hanging fruit.
okay.
So I have the opinion from Elizabeth on the Tumwater Park. And what she says, she has pulled the meaning of this out of RCW 82460355, that the projects for REIT 2 as used in this section, city, means any city, town, and capital project means those public works projects of a local government. So she is restricting this to local
So by
governments.
default, by capital projects, a capital project needs to be included on their capital facilities plan of the local jurisdiction.
Yeah, probably.
And that's what, for the last over a year with the mayor Rainier have been going through this process. They said you need to add this line item on your capital facilities plan
bathroom.
for the bathroom.
Yeah.
Before I can bring a local agreement to the board to sign it. The money is there, but you need to go through that. That is the condition. Thank you.
Right.
So in
That's
theory,
the
so for example, Thurston County could, well, for example, this project that we're being asked to participate in with the Olympia School District, that would be happening in West Olympia at Marshall Middle School. That's fine because it's a government, it doesn't have to be in the unincorporated county. We could contribute to improving that, but it's not building something maybe. But let's say a trail, let's say Thurston County wanted to partner with, I'm just thinking like to understand the limits, I'm giving a
Right.
hypothetical. Thurston County wanted to partner with Olympia to get that capital thing done.
Yeah.
We could put REIT 2 money toward pieces of the trail within the city of Olympia.
Right.
Because it's a public benefit and it's a government, it's in their capital facilities plan.
Right.
But as long as the city of Olympia adds that project to their
Yeah, they
capital
have to
facility.
have
Well, I'm
it in
sure
their
they,
CIP.
I'm just
I
saying,
mean,
but yeah, you're right.
Speaking hypothetically.
But we
Right.
couldn't do the brewery park because it's not no local government
I
involved.
remember, thank you for that.
That
is
is
the
what
nexus.
she has
Yeah,
said.
that is the
Yep,
nexus. Thank you.
that's, I like to actually look at what I'm talking about. So, and specifically, the law allows this funding for planning, construction, reconstruction, repair, rehabilitation, or improvement of. Those are that is the definition of a capital. Planning, acquisition is included there too. Planning, acquisition, construction, reconstruction, repair, replacement, rehab, or improvement of. streets, roads, highways, sidewalks, street and road lighting systems, traffic signals, bridges, domestic water systems, storm and sanitary sewer systems, and parks and trails. That's what you can use READ 2 on.
Parks and trails, but only if they're connected to a local government.
Local government, and including our own. So that's READ 2. Then we want to take a look at ER&R maintenance. So that is Fund 5410.
Ooh, we're
I got a problem in ER&R.
What page is that?
page 9,
Same packet?
yeah.
Got it.
I don't
Yep.
like those numbers.
I don't either. And where you see the problem is in the, it's in the repair charges. It's kind of buried. You see in 2019, 2020, those numbers are going down and they stayed down. And part of the problem this year is in 2022, we don't think we're gonna hit this revenue number because of the lack of vehicles coming in timely. Part of the revenue in the ER&R M&O fund is to pay for upfits of sheriff vehicles. So we anticipated that we would get, I'm not sure exactly how many, but I think like we'd get 20 new sheriff vehicles this year, and we've only received like 5. So we don't have the upfit work to bill back to the fund, the other fund, and the revenue is not coming into this fund. So that supply chain issue was one factor. And then the other thing that happened is the cost of fuel went up like crazy. And it hits this fund because this fund pays for the fuel for all county-owned vehicles.
Even though it falls under repair charges?
The fuel?
Yeah, does it?
No, the fuel is you drop down to the supply line under expenditures. So part of the problem in this fund is a revenue problem. And part of the fund, the problem in this fund is an expenditure problem because the cost of the fuel went up so
It's
extremely.
$1 million difference.
So, I am proposing 2 things, and you see we have a gap, to bridge the gap to where the revenue, turns around, with the rate increase that the board has already approved. This is one of those very few internal services that's on a 2-year lag instead of prospective. And what you see in prior years is when I'm collecting what I spent 2 years ago and costs are going up, that also impairs fund balance. So we've built a surcharge into the rates starting this year that the board has approved to cover that gap. And then to bridge the gap caused by the rising price of fuel and the slow delivery of vehicles, I'm requesting a one-time $300,000 transfer into this fund. So you see that on policy level proposals. 110,000 of that is a general fund request. And when we talk about alternative funding sources, I have an alternate way to pay for that so it does not hit the general fund.
On repair charges on under revenue.
Yep.
It jumps up about $1 million from 22 to 23.
Yep.
Why is that?
I don't know why this is tagged repair. This is the rates. These are the internal service
I know,
rates.
why the big
So-
jump, I guess, is what I'm wondering.
The big jump is the increase in cost. So on a 2-year lag, you see costs are going up, so we're gonna collect more because things cost more. And we built in a surcharge to be able to cover the gap in the fund.
But somehow or another, it was just jumping up, you know, I don't know, 100,000 or so every year until you get here.
It's the surcharge and it's the delay in the upfit revenue.
And that's $1 million in total?
It does come up to, it does.
Okay, then the other one, you were talking about fuel costs?
Yep.
Are you talking about fuel costs due to inflation? Is that
I'm
basically?
talking about the price of gas at the pump that we all
Right.
saw.
Okay, well, in January, the price of gas goes up another 50 cents on top of what inflation is. So is that figured in?
It is, you see, in 2023, we go from 2.5 million to 2.7.
Yeah,
That's to account for increases in fuel and the cost of other supplies to maintain our county
I
vehicles.
bet that's not enough if you didn't figure in that total increase, because you have inflation plus the taxes the legislature put on that are gonna take effect in January of 2023. And it's gonna go up $1, but I don't think it goes all at once.
We can certainly
You better take a look
take a deeper look at what was factored into this.
What's that?
It's all a dollar.
No, it won't go up $1 all at once, it's only gonna go 50 cents in January, I think, and then it's an incrementally, I don't know if it's quarterly or what, but it's $1 in 2023, but yeah. Of just new taxes.
Will we be seeing any of that?
We won't get a benefit from it, state will.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly, this is just pretty rough.
Well, I see they're funding projects, transportation projects, that's the transportation bill they're talking.
Well, we
Yeah,
have
that's that
transportation
transportation bill
Yeah.
that just passed.
We have transportation projects.
It's a transportation bill, so they have specific projects. One of those is
Yeah.
$57 million is the Nisqually River,
Okay, so I won't confirm
I-5.
that. Is that-
That's just the study, right?
No, actually, that is to actually start the engineering, no, the construction, no,
No construction.
no construction. But it's funded by that tax.
Yeah.
I need to switch out my phone.
Right, so that's
So, how are we gonna cover that gap, Robin, is my question.
the 300,000.
Yeah,
So my proposal is to take that from ER&R reserves instead of broad allocation across the county.
and with the reserves, do we have to pay that back? No, it's just,
It's all connected to the care and feeding of the county vehicles.
and how much do we have in reserves?
14 million?
Okay,
About
so
14 million?
it's enough to kind of,
It's absolutely enough in
To
the
keep us
reserve
afloat.
fund to be able to
That reserve
cover
will
it that way.
build up also over time.
okay. So.
So that's ER&R. Then next we have the detention facilities sales tax fund. It is Fund 1100. This fund had benefited from the extreme growth that we saw in sales tax. But with sales tax collections slowing down tremendously, we see this fund leveling off, and we've finally hit the point where we've completely tapped it out. So this is the fund that we've often turned to and said, if you need a little more capacity in the general fund, we transferred additional costs of corrections here. We can't do that anymore. We've done that to the maximum extent that we can.
So,
So this is a fund that we're gonna watch carefully and make sure that the revenues continue to support the level of services. It is also a fund where you see reversions every year. So even though the corrections budget jumped from 2.5 million to 5.1 million between 21 and 22, it is probable that that entire amount won't be spent. There will be some reversion there.
So going back to the corrections, give me a second. I have to jump here. So what is estimated from the sheriff corrections, right? Because that's kind of what we did last year to kind of be able to do more.
Yep.
So out of the possibility of them allocating or reverting back, give me a second, 472,000, that 472,000 would go into this fund, or
No,
No.
they're,
That's general fund only.
that's general fund.
that's general fund money?
Mhm. That reversion is general fund. That will revert into the general fund.
So even though some of the staff are being paid by this tax, it's still going to go back to general fund?
So part of the correction staff are being paid from general fund and part of the correction staff are being paid by detention sales tax. The ones that are programmed to be paid from general fund, they won't spend all the general fund money, they'll revert 400 and some thousand. Of those positions being paid for out of detention sales tax, there's probably going to be a reversion. We don't know how much at this time.
But would that go to the detention?
It would stay in the detention sales tax
So
fund.
if they had a vacancy, somebody quit, who
Right.
we had allocated to DST, then that goes back to DST.
That's right, and that would improve this fund balance, because there is no assumption in this fund for reversions.
Can I ask about something? So if we, I don't know how long it'll take to get these buildings reformatted for additional courtrooms, but Chandler Court, what will happen, how long will we be paying on that and using that?
That lease goes through 2025.
Yeah,
We just
it's
extended
another
through either 25 or 26.
25.
I think it's through 25.
And that is really like more of a strategy to have courtrooms available while construction is going on here.
Right.
It's 2025.
Eventually, we won't have any.
Eventually, probably not.
And I know detention, I know corrections staffing, increased significantly because of having to be in several locations. I know we
Yes.
funded that through ARPA.
All of it's being paid with ARPA.
And it will
the-
continue to be till the end of the lease.
Till 25.
2025
December
might be
25.
shaky. We can pay for costs that we've obligated, and the question will be, is a lease contract considered an obligation? Maybe we can continue to pay the lease, probably. The bigger question is, are filled positions considered an obligation? And that might not be, that's gonna be a stretch.
That would be
And I can
Do it.
certainly talk to
I like
our,
to stretch.
yeah, we can talk to our internal auditor about it, but we are paying for the additional staffing to do the transport to Chandler Court. We're paying for the security in Chandler Court. We're paying for, I think, a court administrator for Chandler Court all out of ARPA, and definitely the Chandler Court lease, all out of ARPA. Yep, court backlog.
Are we gonna talk about debt servicing on here at all?
You can,
What I'm curious about is, it looks like we're paying off that one from 2010.
Yep,
and,
the payments end in 2025.
23, so where does the extra 200,000 go that we'll have?
It's part of fund balance. You see the rising cost of both juvenile detention and corrections.
You know,
That basically it's all FTE costs, so you see an assumption that there'll be cost of living increases for the staff working in these facilities. That kind of absorbs the fact that the bond payments are ending.
And then also we have bond payments, looks like they're ending in 25.
Those don't end, we do have the bond payment that ends in 25, but the bond payments that are on the 2016 line, I'm not quite sure when those end. We'd have to look that up. It's possible that those end in 26. I'd have to look. That was used to build. I'd have to look that up
And then I
too.
guess it just, on the 2016 line also, it goes from 1.5 million to 3.1, and then on, that stays 3 something all the way. What's that jump for?
It's very possible that like our current bonds, that in the first few years, we did interest-only payments before we started paying on the
Okay.
principal. Have to look.
Okay.
Did anybody look up the deal that
Oh, I know,
you brought up?
I do know why 2018, we issued that halfway through the year, so we only made half a payment that year.
Okay. At 17,500 or something, did we ever figure that one out? Was
On
somebody?
RE,
With the too?
Yeah,
no,
I thought somebody was gonna call
we're-
or.
We're gonna find that, it probably won't get back to you on that today, we'll have it before you're asked to make decisions.
So we're trying to reach out to Public Works, looks like certain people are not in today, so we're gonna
Okay.
get back to you.
All right, so detention, sales tax, not a,
Not a cash cow this year.
not anymore, yes. Phrase from my, 6 law days. All right, I know that there's one other, we already looked at development, we looked at the fair fund.
LFO?
Yep, we gotta get to that one. VST is still a cash cow, and so is the veterans. You've got to spend the veterans fund. We looked at the risk insurance fund this morning, so the last one on the list is the Ellenville collection fund. This fund is managed by the clerk. It's fund number 1910.
We didn't do that yet, right? Medical?
Oh, yes, we also have Medic One, thank you.
Didn't she ask us to reduce revenue in this or something?
Yes, we are reducing revenue and the assumptions at the bottom of this page say what's going on with this fund. In 2018, there was legislative changes and then more legislative changes in 22. According to the clerk's office, they cannot assess new collection costs on criminal cases. And since they can't do that, the fund, what you see in collection costs, they are slowly ratcheting back, and when we asked, why don't those all just stop? They said, well, current cases are out there that they could collect on, but they're gonna be collecting less and less every year, is what they anticipate. But basically, we need to get this salary, we gotta get the personnel costs out of this fund. And Patty, did you say that that they had a plan for that, they just didn't put it forward in the budget?
Yeah, I believe they're moving that individual to a different position.
It looks like Patty's talking, but it's not,
Oh.
she's on a lag. There you go, we can hear you now.
Okay, they were moving that position, that individual in that position to a different position. So they would be moved out of the fund. And I believe that's happening next year at some point.
Right, expenditures would materialize, so this
Right.
one is okay.
That's right. So we have to ensure that they actually make that shift, then abolish this position, Apparently, they have a different open position, a vacancy in their office that they'll move this person to.
That's my understanding.
So we need to make sure they do that, abolish this position, and then the fund will be fine. Eventually, we'll close it out because it won't have any more revenue. So that one's going on here. And those are all the funds that we needed to review. Oh, gosh, thank you. Except for Medic One. You had asked to see the Medic One fund. So you've got that here. It's fund number 1290. Medic One is a cash cow.
Yeah, but we can't do anything with it.
Nope, it's restricted. It is not available to commissioners for purposes other than to support Medic One. But all those things that you see in the policy request for Medic One, there is ample revenue to pay for those, because what you see steadily increasing here is their property tax revenue, which for the next few years goes up at 7% per year.
Okay.
As voter approved. Yep, can we get a levy lift like that for general fund, please? So, unless you have any questions about Medic One, I just wanted to show you that there is.
I don't.
And by the
I'll
way,
take it.
all the 23 is factored in.
I know you want it to be paperless, but I wanted to be sure if you wanted it, that you had it.
No.
All right, so that's all the funds. Let's take a 10-minute break, and then we'll look at the forecast model.
Okay. do you mind putting on the video and
Yes, ma'am.
you are live? Okay, we are back from break. It is 11:18 a.m. Robin, I'm handing it back to you.
Thank you, Commissioner. The last thing we're gonna do, well, actually, two more things to do. First, we're gonna look at the interactive forecast model for the general fund. So we'll look again to see where we are, because the budget team has done quite a bit of work. We've updated numbers, but the picture doesn't look a whole lot different at this point in time. And we'll talk about some alternatives that you may have, and you know, what the choices could be. Not asking for any decisions today. Today is not the day for decisions. But you can ask questions, we can look at options, just something for you to think about. And then the last thing we'll do is take a quick look ahead and talk about where we're going next as we work our way through this process. I am printing this to a PDF, so the current look at the model can be in your packet, and I'm hoping that the computer seems to be working a little faster than it was for me earlier. October session, and we'll put it in today's work session, is that where you want it? And it is the GF, we've printed copies of it. This is the general fund forecast as it looks at this moment. So I'm putting a date on it, enter, and it is out there for you to find.
Want me to, did you print it?
I did print it, so you can grab that.
Okay, so we got a new one
It's also out
coming.
in your
We got a new
folder,
one
you've
coming.
got a brand new one coming.
Okay, good. I think the one I've got is from September 9th.
Right, and I've just put out on
Okay.
the, and in a moment, Nicole will tell you how to find it.
Did you?
And I'm gonna share my
Yeah.
screen.
Are you sure?
Oh, I need to log in. Good grief, I'm so sorry.
Do you want one? It's online, I didn't know if you wanted a
Oh,
copy.
I can find
Yes,
it.
Robin said she put it in today's folder.
I did. It is.
Today's the 7th.
Today is, isn't it?
Yes.
I never know some days what today is. So. Please let me in, Ramiro, or do you have?
What's this one called? Got 4 documents here. Budget work session.
This is the GF forecast.
Did you put it in today's?
I did.
No.
What the heck?
Pressing.
Oh,
And PDF, I'm gonna save it again. Save. It's October work session, 10/7/22 budget work session.
You're receiving it in my personal file, not on the KJ for the commissioners. So it's like, hey,
It's,
the 2023 budget.
that's where I am, but I'll do it again.
I was about to sneeze and then it went away.
Where's the second file from the top here? It's right, 2023. You went into budget and then 2023. It's just K 2023 budget development.
Oh,
We have separate for the commissioners to be able to look at.
I see.
That's a huge, that's a very huge.
Okay.
And then the top, that first one.
So
That takes a lot of water to grow those big zucchinis.
There you go. That's all the files.
I
Do you
irrigate,
have like a?
I
irrigation
irrigate
system?
with an irrigation hose, with the soaker hose.
Okay, so,
I don't use a sprinkler.
okay, so you have that, okay, got it. That's probably more efficient.
Yeah, way more efficient.
So you have tomatoes, zucchini. You have
It's in there
a lot
now.
of orchards that have
Found
found
forecast.
forecast, plums you brought in.
Got it.
Yes.
Yay,
And what is
finally. All
What else
right.
do you have?
Can you say that out loud?
I'm, do what?
Usually beans,
Say that loud where you
beans
find
and
it.
carrots,
Where is located?
beets, and
Go ahead,
squash, different
Nicole,
kinds of.
say where it's at.
Okay, in 2023 midterm preliminary budget work session, today's date 10/7.
Yeah.
It's
The
general
carrots
fund
taste
forecast
so much more
10/7/22.
different.
It's all set for you.
Got it.
And share across screen, and it is the forecast.
When I first tasted like what an actual carrot's supposed to taste like, I was blown away. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, I think that we are, can I have a copy of that, please? Thank you. I think we are now all here. Thank you for your patience, commissioners. This is hot off the press, as of late last night. So what you see here, it's not changed a lot, but just slight tweaking of the numbers. We continue to anticipate ending 2022, which is the green bar, with 115.7 million in revenue. And as of right now, the offices and departments are still on track to revert 8.5 million. And in this forecast, you see a new 21,000 in grants this year. You also see that reflected on the revenue line. The 349,000 that the very few offices and departments that took advantage of the carry forward option, a reduction of 349 in this year and an increase in next year, and then the 708,000 contribution to the land use fund for 115.1 million in expenditures and an anticipated fund balance of $39 million. That includes pulling 1.5 million in costs in lost revenue money in ARPA. What you see in 2023 is all of the budget requests if you were to say yes to everything. So yes to everything is 115.8 million in revenue. That includes an additional 1.5 million in lost revenue from ARPA that we've been assuming for quite some time now. Increased grant money, decreased revenue money that you've talked to both the auditor and the court about, increased revenue from the indirect plan, slight revenue increases tied to maintenance and policy level requests, and assumes a step down in the road levy shift of 250,000. That's the revenue proposal. On the expenditure side, you see a 3% reversion, which is as low as it goes for us. So if everyone were to get back to pre-pandemic normal reversion, they would only give back, if you will, $3.6 million. We've included a COLA at 2.5% for most county employees. This is everyone except the sheriff deputies that has a 4.1% increase as agreed to in their bargaining agreement for next year. and a 4% increase for correction deputies, also in accordance with their bargaining agreement. It also includes the payment for the one-time bonus for the sheriff deputies, $375,000. That's a $5,000 payment that's paid out over 10 months. So this year, the sheriff is absorbing that bonus. Next year, the remainder of the costs, this would be what it costs to fund that. And the board has had a conversation with HR about the increased cost of medical benefits for our employees, which are going to cost the county $344,000 in general fund. There are more, of course, in other funds, but the general fund share of the increase is $344,000 that the board is choosing for the county to pay rather than passing the cost on to the employees. It's above what we had anticipated. Continuing on, there's $274,000 in grants. That's spending the revenue that you see reflected in the revenue section of the forecast. The $1.9 million that we need to increase for the risk pool. As you saw in the risk fund, revenue goes way up in 23 and then comes down a little in 24 and beyond. So part of this is one time only, and you see me back the ongoing cost down by $700,000 in future years. The indirect rates, even though we're going to collect $750,000 more in revenue, 756 to be more precise, in revenue for indirect rates, the expenditure side only goes up by $183,000. We've got the carry forward that we already talked about. That is for one-time funding, so you see me back that out in future years. It's not an ongoing cost. Once those projects are completed, we will not need that funding in future years, so I've backed that out. Then other maintenance level adjustments add up to $217,000, and other policy items not already listed separately is $2.1 million for a grand total that includes a reversion assumption of $126 million, roughly. And you see that that would spend down your ending fund balance by $10 million in 23. And when you look at future years, with the bulk of this being ongoing expenses, increasing at a rate much higher than the revenue would, you see the future fund balance just continuing to quickly deteriorate. And the way that looks on the graph is like this, where you have these lines represent, this green dotted line is projected revenue, the red dashed line is projected expenditures, this blue line is the targeted 2-month ending fund balance, this black line is the minimum $12 million we need for cash flow, and this bar shows you what the ending fund balance is. We're dropping quickly below the cash flow line. So that is a very fast, high-level view of what is built into the forecast at this time. And as you've heard me say on many occasions, you cannot responsibly approve everything. So the task before you is to make choices, and again, not today, but you'll need to start to make decisions, and you'll be doing that in the last week of October, starting on October 24th. Before we get to a conversation about what's ahead, let's look at some options that you may have, and I'm gonna see if I can make this work on a single screen. What I want to do is share this graph. So while you look at the graph, oh yeah, this is gonna work. So what I have done, and you can't see it because you're only looking at the graph, is I have built this model to be interactive. And as you make decisions at the end of the month, I will be able to update the graph in real time so you can see what the impact is. And for example, if we chose to pay for the sheriff's bonus out of money, we had the conversation earlier, we can free up a certain amount of money in ARPA by paying for positions that were filled or created after March 3rd of 2021. We think that the capacity there could be as much as $4 million. Now you would have to choose what to not fund in your current ARPA earmarks. We, and I think Romero agrees with me, we could reduce the court backlog item by $5 million and be able to pay for the court backlog costs through the end of the performance period of the grant.
25, is that in?
About 5 million.
Yeah, but does that end in 25?
That will,
Would we be caught up
Well-
at 25?
we'd be good through 25.
Okay.
Yeah, that would leave enough to pay through 2026, actually, if you wanted to. But I think you could easily free up $4 million that way if you so chose to spend it for this purpose. And you've heard us talk about how it needs to be one time.
Is, in addition, and just to have another conversation with the ARPA funds, you also, a couple of weeks ago, you received 2 proposals. One was for the child care program for you to consider supporting. And the other one was for a training on the agricultural side of the business. Each one of those is $1 million request. And on Tuesday, I will have this item for your conversation, just to wrap the whole conversation about ARPA. As Robin has stated, the backlog can be reduced, as well as the housing set aside can be reduced as well, since the intent of that was to purchase a motel. That activity is gonna be occurring with the money that we're getting from the state, so there's an opportunity for the board to reduce that as well. So I believe that what Robin has stated, the additional $4 million on those positions, and for you to consider the new programs, I believe there is enough capacity. But we'll touch base a little more on Tuesday.
Right. We'll have the ARPA details for you also when you come to time to make the decisions. But let's say for just a moment, you decided that you want to cover the insurance risk rate adjustment, the full 1.9 million, with this freed up general fund
And this is a
money.
one-time,
It would be,
everything we're talking about.
most of it is a one-time payment,
Right.
Yeah.
but
Except for that.
I can update this right now, and you see an immediate impact on the fund. Even if you cover that 2 million with this one-time money, it is not going to bring you into balance. And the reason for that, and you saw every bar go up. I'm gonna change it back, and you'll see them all go down. The reason that it doesn't have a different effect is it is one-time money, so it adds $2 million roughly to the fund balance, but it does not change the shape of the graph.
How about if you do that and then let's do half the policy level adjustments?
Great, let's do that. So I'm gonna add the one-time money there, And then I'm going to reduce. Takes me a minute to find the right line. Policy level expenditures by better. The thing that is really driving this is the ongoing cost of the COLAs. And so if we were to change the COLAs starting in 2024, we've assumed 2.5 per year for every year. If we were to assume that it was gonna be closer to a 2% COLA across the board,
I
that
think
resolves the problem.
I think that's a mistake.
It is, and it doesn't do anything toward the class and comp study.
I don't think that's reasonable. Hey, let me ask you one thing. You said, let the sheriff through reversion pay for the bonus. Why would you do that instead of, say, use ARPA money, because I guess it's legal to use ARPA money for the bonus, and utilize the reversion money in some other general fund form, whether it's help the sheriff or not. But I just hate to burn that.
The amount this year is very small, and the reversion amount you see for the sheriff's office, the 200 and some that they're already planning to revert,
Yeah,
already assumes
already- so
the
it's
small
already
amount in this
committed?
year, it's already factored in.
okay.
Yep. It includes that.
So this, Robin, do you include, in addition to the $3 million for the risk pool, you also included the bonus for the sheriff deputy as well as the medical increases?
Let's cover those.
Well, okay, one other thing, Robin, as we move forward on that. So, but if you did use ARPA money to pay for that bonus, and out of the $8 million total reversion, you would save, well, would you save? I'm just trying to protect the general fund as much as I can.
I know, but
I'm
everything
grasping
we're
at
talking
straws,
about
I
is
guess.
one time. And this is the thing, the one-time money coming in is not gonna be the
Oh.
solution.
No,
You've got to do a combination of things.
okay.
And if you funded no, so let's see if we can go
Robin, can
through
you-
very quickly. Yep, go
I
ahead.
hate to interrupt you, but when we're getting to the decisions, last week of October, I think it would really be helpful to set, whether we put it on the whiteboard or have a sheet, just pulling out those items that are ongoing, that are really driving this problem, the ongoing expense. So that when we see that list, because you're sitting there as a commissioner, like, I'm funding that, I'm saying no to that, I'm saying no. But you really need to see that you're saying no to things that are ongoing. And that really needs to be the list, the general fund, ongoing costs. We need that boiled down to however many items those are, 15 things. So that we can really see what realistically can we say no to, make that hard decision that's gonna make a big difference. Because you say no to all this stuff and you feel like you did your job, but all that was one time and it barely makes a dent. We've got to be able to focus on the things that matter the most and say, okay, here's the true priorities that we have to just order. Because after everybody's presentation, I can tell you, this year, more than any other time I've been commissioner, every single request we have is a good one.
All of them.
I mean, in prior years, there's been ones like, I don't think that's really that important. This year, I would feel, like if you guys came in and said to us, we could fund everything, I'd be like, fund it, give me the piece of paper, I'm ready to sign. Everything that's been requested, a great case was made by Judge Buckley for probation, a great case was made by Pat for business analyst, great case was made by the sheriff for rebound program. I mean, I'm sold on all of it. But at a certain point, we have to figure out we're gonna have to make the hard choices, and I wanted to focus my mental and emotional energy on the list of things that are driving the increase. COLAs, we know, I'm pretty much with Commissioner Edwards, but that needs to be on the list.
Right?
So that we know, okay, we're gonna say no to some things because we have to do the COLA, or we have to do the risk pool.
Okay, so to fix that and make this picture look like you're coming out of it by 2030, you would have this fixes it. It's 0 policy level items other than the COLA, the medical benefits, and covering the cost of the risk pool. 0 of the rest of that stuff that is so compelling.
Yeah, well,
Well, that's how I did my sheets, unfortunately,
So-
right?
So
we may have
it's-
some
it's
short
all of that.
deliberation, because I'm not going any further to compromise the long-term forecast than that. And I think we're all agreed, we have to do the COLAs and the risk pool and we wanna do the medical and benefits for our employees, so maybe
Right.
that's where we're at, unless you guys can, I know Ramiro was talking about some creative accounting to create capacity, but unless I see that.
Well, the capacity was the additional ARPA funds for one time, and I know this is, the vital that you just did is only eliminating everything on the policy of requests, right? But if we were to fund a one-time, let's play this scenario if I may.
Yep, that's what we're doing here, play it out.
So if you include the 375 from the sheriff's bonuses, you
Done.
include the medical increases 344, and you include,
The medical increase is an ongoing cost.
no,
That
for
is
just
not one
for 1 year. Just
If
for
we
1 year.
covered that
I
for 1
understand
year.
that it's ongoing, for
Okay.
1 year, just for, and then you go and you supplement the grants, the risk pool one time in the rec rates. And let's stop right there.
How much does that add up to, do you know?
So that is 700, that is 2.7, let's say $3 million,
Great. 3 million
one time.
covering alternative things that we would get in one-time revenue.
It doesn't
Makes it
double.
look like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't
So
fix
the
the
next
ongoing issue.
scenario will be if you reduce the policy level to get up to the 1 million. Without knowing the
Yep.
details that you requested.
I think that here's $1 million in policy level requests.
Million on top of the COLA and what you outlined,
Yep,
medical and
Yes,
risk pool.
so COLAs assumed at 2.5% per year, right into the future. Plus what we've already committed to for the sheriffs and correction deputies. The one-time bonus, the medical increases and the risk pool increase, plus $1 million in whatever items that the board may choose. And we put, this is 3 million in one-time cost, but let's say it's 4 million. And we pick things to cover, that gets you a whole lot closer. And if for 1 year only, you skip the 250,000 reduction in the levy shift from the road fund, that would get a picture like this.
So
So you might be able to extract $1 million worth of stuff.
The point of this, and it was, to give you capacity to exercise your decision on the policy level request, as you stated, and Commissioner Mejia agreed, is, every single one is good.
But that just your point just underscores my request, because
Right.
then I need to be extremely targeted at what $1 million worth of stuff out of a very worthy list of whatever it is, $3 or $4 million
Yes.
worth of
You
stuff.
need to be surgical on that coming up on the last weekend, but the point is, of this exercise is to give you capacity to fund something.
To do something.
Yeah, and that's the
Right.
point.
What did you do with the 5 million that we pulled back from the ARPA that we'd?
Well, we could raise this to 5. I've used 4 of it. Because you might
I thought you
want
said
to
we had 5.
leave, you could free up $5 million.
So that would give us 1 more million.
You could do 1 more million. I would encourage you to keep $1 million in your pocket.
I'm just thinking there's gonna be that much left, maybe not spent somewhere else that we could keep in our pockets from
So-
ARPA.
So suggestion, and it's up for you to think of, you don't need to make decisions at this
Because the
point.
training, for the ag training, I'm not too concerned about training, I'm a little more interested we move forward on the plan.
I have some proposal for Tuesday on that one, but it's the ARPA funds.
Okay.
But going back to this, you have loss of revenue set aside 3 million. Right? And part of the 3 million is for you to contemplate giving the employees a $1,000 bonus, $1,000 bonus. You may consider, since the model includes only a 2.5% increase in cost of living, and that's embedded in this plan, there's a little bit of capacity where you consider a higher bonus. And that will balance, I think, the needs of the employees.
Higher bonus, we need balance in needs.
Well balanced, because I'm sure the unions are going to be requesting more than 2.5% increase.
Yeah, the ones that are.
Oh, you're
open
saying
this
balance against not granting a higher.
Right, and then when you consider a higher bonus, which perhaps you have a little capacity there, given $1 million for you to do something.
Yeah.
And
Right.
That's the
And
lost revenue, the
if
$3
you-
million lost revenue that you still have in your back pocket.
Right. So we've already assumed that we would take at least $1,000 for all employees out of that lost revenue, and you could do more. And I think that if you look at, if Commissioner Edwards, why not do 5 million? I've done 4 million, why not do 5? It doesn't improve this position terribly.
Could you in advance of the 24th, send us an email with whatever it is, the 10, 15, 20 things that are more than just, I don't wanna see the $7,000, but more than $50,000 ongoing policy requests, not included in the, that million, if we were to be able to squeeze $1 million, what would be the list of competitors
Yes,
for that million?
yes.
That would be really helpful for me to have like a few extra
Yes.
days to chew on before we get into decision.
I'd like to see that expanded to which ones are we asking for, are we contemplating, that if we don't do it, is gonna cost us more in the end by not doing it. That's what.
Well, that'll be the debate we have on the priority of this list that Robin gives us. If she can give us a spreadsheet that's just boiled down to what we really gotta,
Hash through.
we've got the capacity to say no. I mean, it's not like a legal obligation type of thing, but then the argument can be, well, this say like rebound, I'm sure an argument could be made, well, that's gonna really save us money.
Yeah, if we save more
indirectly.
money than we spend, it's good business.
Exactly, and those are the
Yeah, that
tough
would be
decisions we
the
have to make.
conversation we need to have, but thank you. The reason that I wanted to go through that process is to leave you with an idea of what a potential capacity you may have coming October 24th.
Not much.
Yeah, but it's better than
So
what
you've
we
got $1
were.
million to work with if we use $4 million of the ARPA. Yep. And we think we can get there. We've got some work to do, but we think we can get there.
Oh, sure.
So that's where we're at. And that was just a little exercise that we needed to go through this morning.
I always
So,
think back to whenever we're feeling bad for ourselves, think back to 2007 and 2009 and what those commissioners had to go through. You guys were here. I can't imagine being in that situation, and I'm grateful every year when I don't have to
That
think
was
about
rough.
cutting.
Well, just look at the
employees.
reduction in
Either.
district court that happened
Yeah,
in that timeframe.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, we're really,
So one spot of good news that's not in this forecast, it's not a lot of money, but you have also in your packet an analysis of the Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund. This is that $100,000, $50,000 a year for 2 years that we're gonna receive from the feds. And I wanna thank Nicole and Diana. They're starting to prepare these one-page overviews on each of the COVID-related funding streams. So we can see at a glance, but there's 100,000 that we can add to this forecast. It's not 4 million, but it's 100,000, and it can be used for any governmental purpose that's not lobbying.
Now, let me ask you something here. Commissioner Mejia pointed out that 17.5, okay, that went across the board that we don't understand what
In
it
REIT
is.
two,
That's a small amount of money, okay, 17.5.
REIT two.
But then yesterday, we've got 4 million, where it should have been 2 million or something like that on,
That-
the end of,
Right, but that's not,
I know, but is there actually a dollar amount sitting over here that was
it
put
was
in the
not
wrong?
reflected in this forecast, no, there is not.
There's not a dollar amount
It was just a
sitting
bit
there,
of data that you
just some
don't have.
misinformation. Okay, so there's not a stack of money sitting
No.
there somewhere.
No, there is not. The forecast accurately
But
reflects.
speaking of revenue, just got an email from WASAC. The opioid settlement they're gonna start coming December 1st.
But what kind
It's-
of, what strings,
How-
what kind of
it's
restrictions?
We need to find out what
Approximately-
type of restraints, but it's not gonna be
There you
general
go.
fund.
It's not general fund
So,
money,
but,
is the sad
they-
thing. It is gonna be $500,000 going into your public health fund.
Yeah, and right here, the Thurston County is scheduled to have $7.2 million overall.
how
Overall,
much overall?
7.2.
7.2 million overall.
Yeah, but it's all gonna be pretty severely restricted, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Well, there's gonna be a
Public
lot of
health.
strings attached.
Yep.
Okay.
So the way we will move through the rest of this year, we will be asking you to make decisions on October 24th, starting October 24th. At that time, we will have we'll have the list that you've asked for, Commissioner Menzer. We'll have the update hopefully on the sales tax to see is the 5% holding. We'll have October's number by then. We'll have any other updates we get on revenue and spending for this year. We'll have answers to the questions you've asked during this week. We are hoping that you only need a couple of days to work through your budget and could get to final decisions by October 26th. We do have the 27th and 28th blocked off, but the goal is to wrap up by the end of the day on the 26th. And after that, staff will put together the commissioner's budget. We'll publish that by, I think, November 20th. Public hearings on December 4th and 5th, right? 4th and 5th and 6th. 5th and 6th, and pass a budget on December 16th, thank you.
December 16th?
December 16th. I think at 10 a.m. we'll do the final motions and adopt a budget. In the meantime, for anyone who's listening, please go online and do the budget simulation. We'll also, on October 24th, have a report for you on how citizens weighed in on what to fund. And that's what I have for you today. If you don't have any other questions, I'm gonna turn to Nicole. Did I miss anything?
Well, we were able to find the historical budget versus actuals, the discrepancy for district court. That's inside your packet. I sent you a new one inside the file. So you'll be able to see that that's updated. And also, Commissioner Edwards, you have a copy of the updated amount.
Okay.
You've got that data
Was there
already.
any like, striking, there we
Their budget was off, so we just updated their budget, and so
we were really trying to look at their historical
Anything in
reversion.
the trends?
the trends, it's around 300,000 a year of reversion.
This has been fixed somewhere, but where? Where is it?
So it's right here.
District
We'll make sure you
Before it
have a
was
new
1.9,
copy,
that's what we were-
Commissioner
Oh.
Edwards.
So it was just a
All
typo.
right, anything else?
This is also inside of your foldership electronically.
It's 11:59. Thank you, Robin. Thank you to the budget team. I think we have a lot to chew over. We are adjourned.
Go Ames!
Thank you.